I'm fairly new to the hobby and want to make a side income like you've talked about. A couple things on the Prism product this year. It seems like it's extremely hard to get gems.
Yes.
I've been looking at rookie quarterbacks primarily. I'll look at, 100 orange discos a day between the different quarterbacks, and I find like 0.
My question is on the grading side. I've sent in the PSA before, but sending in to PSA, like for me sending it in, let's say I send 5 cards, it's usually, of course, the value selection or whatever, it's like $25 a card. Is it better to send in on your own, or is it better to go in with somebody and send in to try to get cost of card down to try to help on the resale part?
Yeah.
If it comes back a 9, I'm not so tied into the shipping and et cetera, et cetera.
I'll give you the answer to your question and an example.
I know you do not care about the opinion of people that talk crap about you on social media.
Yep.
I saw your response to, have you seen his recent videos or whatever of you?
I have not.
You-
Are they good? Are they funny? We're live for the Eric Michael Show, episode number 52, and I do this podcast for all sorts of reasons: to answer questions about sports cards, to answer questions about business, talk about my life, get things off my chest, and everything in between. So welcome if you're new, if you're old, welcome again. And when it comes to sports cards and making money, this is probably the best time of the year to make money with sports cards. So let me explain why. Sorry, I got an itch. So the way sports cards works, if you've ever seen my content before, it's pretty simple. You buy low, you sell high. And when a season starts, right, usually what happens is players end up going down in value. And you want to buy in the offseason while they're low, get cards graded, sell it as it gets hotter and closer to the season. And we have the NFL draft around the corner. Okay, so let me explain to you how the NFL draft works when it comes to sports and sports cards. So generally speaking, right, most prospects don't pan out to how they're supposed to. However, the way sports cards works is like this. So when a player does something like wins an award or goes to the Hall of Fame or something like that, they don't see a spike in value. Let me explain. So let's say Tom Brady gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. You would think, like the average person in sports cards would think, oh, let me go buy Tom Brady cards 5 months prior, hold them, and sell them when the season or when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. It doesn't do anything because it's already factored into Tom Brady's price. Everybody knows that Tom Brady is going to go into the Hall of Fame. It's factored into his price. Everyone knows he's a Hall of Famer, just like, like Aaron Judge a few years ago when he was going to win MVP, or like Ohtani last year. Everybody knew he was going to win MVP. The fact that they just announced it doesn't do anything to his price. And what ends up happening when Tom Brady gets inducted into the Hall of Fame is because everyone's sitting on these cards of Tom Brady, when he gets inducted, all these cards go on eBay because everyone thinks that's the way to make money. And the supply is all the way up here. And when supply goes up here, the demand goes down. When supply goes up and demand goes down, prices go down. So I remember distinctly, this is an example I'll always use, is when Aaron Judge won his MVP, 2023? They announced it in November. I think it was 2023. Don't quote me on that. Everybody started selling these Aaron Judge cards because they were sitting on them waiting for him to win it. And his value actually went down 20% when he won MVP. Not because he's any worse of a player, just everyone and their mother was trying to sell these cards. And when that happens, just the prices go down. So waiting for a player to win an MVP or waiting for them to win a championship doesn't do anything. Like most players, when they win a championship, don't really go up in value. Like if Luka wins a championship with the Lakers, call me crazy. I know you guys are going to think I'm wrong here, but his value won't really go up. Maybe a little bit. Maybe. Doesn't do that much. So it brings to the question, how do you make money with sports cards? How do you systematically predict if a player's value is going to go up? Well, number one, grade cards because it's the best way to do it. But number two, the biggest indicator of a player's value going up is actually when something good happens in the offseason. So let me explain. So actually, let me just show. Instead of me explaining, let me show. So check this out. So, right? Let's look at Kyler Murray last year. This is a good example. Kyler Murray, Silver, Prism, PSA 10. So check this out. This time last year, this card was worth $285, just about. And you could see as into May and June, and this card reached all the way up to $475 about 3 months later. Why did Kyler Murray's value last year skyrocket like this? Well, what happened right here? This spike. What happened right here? Right. Well, they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., right? And that is the biggest indicator of a player's value going up. So just in football, when a quarterback gets a new weapon or a new coach or something like that, values go up. In basketball, Victor Wembanyama's value went up when they got Chris Paul. That is the biggest indicator. So ask yourself, when buying a card, if you're buying to make money, right, what player's value has a high chance of going up based on hype in the offseason? So, for example, if you go back in my content a month or two ago, you would see I was talking about Drake May a lot. Drake May, I thought the Patriots, not that I think he's an amazing player, I think he's a pretty, solid player for the most part, but Drake May, I looked at his value and said, well, the Patriots, they have no weapons. It's only up from here. They have to pick up people. And when they pick up people, his value should see a nice bump as you get closer to the season because it'll generate hype. And what do the Patriots do? Well, they end up trading for Stephon Diggs. And because of that, there's no guarantees, but there's a high chance that his value will go up as we get closer to the season. So with the NFL draft around the corner, ask yourself, okay, well, what team, like if I'm going to buy a few quarterbacks, buy these cards, get them graded, and they're going to sit at the grading company for a few months, what team is going to pick up weapons? Well, you have the Commanders. They have weapons, right, with Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. Broncos could probably use another weapon. Falcons already have a lot of weapons. McCarthy with the Vikings, they already have a lot of weapons. So that's what I would be asking myself. Drake May, they already picked up Diggs, but they'll probably continue to get more. So just a nice little method of thinking when it comes to making money with sports cards. Like the way to make money is buying cards and getting them graded, but which I'll show you how to do and talk about here in a second. But besides from that, if you're going to be buying a card and getting it graded, you're going to be sending it to a company. It's going to be sitting there for a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months. So ask yourself, what cards can I buy that have a high chance of being worth more when they get back to me in 2 months? Because then you'll make more money, right? Hopefully that makes sense. But anyways, let's go into looking at some cards to buy. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, I'll be taking questions here in about 5-10 minutes. So you could call that number below and we could start ripping some questions here. But let's look at some cards to buy. So I have a few tabs open. I have eBay, Market Movers, and Easy Sniper. This allows me to bid on auctions automatically last second. But someone I like. So let's do some research real quick, right? NFL draft. Let's type an NFL mock draft. This is literally what I do sometimes just to get a little bit of inspiration. So let's just look at a random mock draft here. The Ringers 2025 mock draft, right? So you have, this is probably not accurate, but right, you have the Titans getting Abdul Carter. That's probably not true, but I just want to look at the draft order. So the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, he's not going to really have cards to buy. The Jets getting Shedeur Sand. This is a wild mock draft. Holy crap. That's crazy. Caleb Williams, they could pick someone up here. Caleb Williams. Yeah, the Falcons need defense. They're definitely not going to draft. They should not draft another receiver or another weapon. They don't need it. So this is a perfect example. The Broncos need a running back, and Ashton Genty should increase Bo Nix's value. That dude is a beast. So maybe Bo Nix, right? Could be a possible goodbye. You have the Steelers here. They don't have a young quarterback. Herbert, Colston Loveland. I think this pick is probably going to happen. He's a beast, this kid, Jedi Barron. I watched him play at Texas. Matthew Golden to the Rams. Wow, that would be sick. They already have Devontae Adams. This kid's like a speedster from Texas. Wow. Some solid players in this draft. Travion Henderson, he's a first-round pick. I didn't know that. Wow, they have the Chiefs getting a running back. Interesting. But anyways, I just like to look at those things just to kind of get a glimpse of who do I think could go up in value? But let's look at some cards here. So what I'm going to do is let's type in Prism. And what I'm going to do, so I buy cards in the lazy way. So what I'll do is I'll go to ending soonest and I want to look at auctions. So I'll click auctions right down here and let's do minimum price. I don't know, $75. And what you could do is I like to put a minimum bid count of 1 because if there's at least 1 bid, that tells me that this card is within market value because you get people that will start auctions at $200 and the card's only worth 100. I don't want to see those cards because it's just a waste of my time. Let's take a look. I actually had a student just make a lot of money on one of these Jaden Daniels cards, which is pretty crazy. This corner actually looks pretty good. The card's a little off-centered. You have this top is a little bit smaller than the bottom. It's not too bad, though. I wonder what this card sells for. So if we type in Jaden Daniels, neon green. Let's type in Prism. We can see that this card does... That's not accurate. Oh, this is a different card. This is a different card. This is a number to 10. No huddle. It's looks similar, but it's not. This is a no huddle. This is a green pulsar. Way different cards. But this card sells for like 100 to 130-ish in that range. And a PSA 9 is like 130. So you'll probably break even or lose a little bit of money. Let's see if there's any 10s. So a 10 did 355. Pretty solid. Another one did 400. 10s, yeah, the 10s do like 350 to 400. So this card that's ending, let's see here. We got nothing in this description that tells me anything. And let's look at the seller's other items to see. So he definitely does not grade cards. So I'll throw in a bid here. Right, I'll throw in a nice little bit of. So if I take the eBay item number down here and go to Easy Sniper, I can just put in a bid. And you can see I lost a bunch of my last auctions. I'm not too crazy in this card. I'm going to be cheap. I'm going to go like 123 because it's a little off-centered. If it was better centered, I'd probably bid like 135 just to make sure I win it. But not too bad of a card. Grades a 10. Won't make bad money. I could click here to click so it only shows me cards that are not graded. This stuff is going wild. I was actually just at the NCAA because it was here in Tampa and I live next to the stadium or the arena. Wow, that national championship game, the first half was competitive. It was USC versus UConn. It was loud. It was loud. Paige Beckers is incredible. Just an incredible player. You could just see she just moves differently. This is going to sound sexist, but she moves like an NBA player. Like the way she's pulling up for jumpers. Like that's the biggest thing I noticed. Like Paige Beckers and like Caitlin Clark, like their pull-up game is just incredible. And not a lot of females, it seems like, have that pull-up jumper in their bag. That's one of the big things I noticed just when watching, which is pretty interesting. But let's see, this card of Caleb Williams, dad rips. So, whoops. So he probably opens up cases and boxes. I'm assuming he does not grade cards. Let's take a look. Yeah, they definitely don't grade cards. Actually, they had some decent cards to buy and grade. Yeah, these are some decent cards right here. Let's take a look at this Caleb Williams Orange Ice Prism. See what this card sells for. It sells for right around 150-ish. PSA 9 did like 130, 122, 135. So I wonder if there's any PSA 10s. PSA 10 did no PSA 10 sales. But you'd make a pretty penny on this card if it did get a PSA 10. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm not too crazy about it. I don't like orange ices that much. Let's see, Pandora, number to 400, McCarthy. I like McCarthy. I think he's going to gain a lot of hype and excitement, except don't like that corner. That corner does not look good. Let's stay away from that. These cards are money. These orange discos, these are usually a little easier to grade, except This one looks a little bit funny. You can see that edge chipping. It's eh. Let's see what else we got here. Malik Neighbors. I'm just gonna stick to quarterbacks for now. Luka Doncic. These cards are really old at this point. Will they grade? Probably not. DJ Stroud Silver Prism. This card's off centered. You can see that right is bigger than the left. A lot of cards on eBay. Wow. Let's see this. This card it's kind of hard to see, but it is well centered because it's covered by this case right here. Even though it's being sold by consignment. So this is a consignment shop. So I usually don't like to buy cards coming from consignment. Just usually people just dump their crappy cards there that are not in good condition. So I will stay away from that for now. Optic blue. I like these optic blue scopes, and I like the Caitlin Clarks. Like the Caitlin Clark cards. If you these cards are hard to 10. If you 10 one of these, you are making bank. Like you are. Like check this out. This is insane. So if you look at like a Caitlin Clark Silver Prism 2024. Check this out. This card, right? If you look at a PSA 10, PSA 10 is like sold for $2,800, right? That's a silver prism. So it's worth $2,800 as a 10 and not graded. The card does, it's fine. Like 250, 326. Like that's 10x your money. That's pretty freaking crazy. And these cards sell. This corner looks a little chipped. That's not bad though, but I'm gonna stay away. But Caitlin Clark stuff does crazy. Actually, it does so crazy. Let's take a look and see what Caitlin Clark stuff is ending. These cards are just so hard to grade. These silver prisms. You can see this one's off centered. That top and bottom is no good. See this one? Yeah, it's off center. I don't know why these Caitlin Clark cards seem harder to grade than other Prism from the same year, even though it's the same card. I don't know why it's like that, but it just seems that way. So Caitlin Clark rookie scope number 299. That looks pretty good. This card looks to be well centered. That top and bottom are kind of equal. This person's taking some pretty good pictures over here. I wonder if there's something wrong with the card. There's something that looks like something could be wrong with that card. Near mint. Yeah, this looks like something funny. The card's good, but something funny's on that card. Let's see this one of Caitlin Clark. Man, they take some crazy pictures. Yeah, that corner is whiting. These cards are just, if you could send in these cards and get like 20% of them to 10, you're making a lot of money. Especially something like this, like a blue prism variation. You might 10x your money, honestly. So they have blue variations of this card. Can't see it. We'll stay away. Person take pictures. Pink Velocity, number 299. It's off-centered. You can see how hard these cards are to find a grade. Pulsar, number to 499. Yeah, it might take a little bit of searching to find a good Caitlin Clark card to buy and grade. But if you do, oh, it's that one, just out of curiosity. This one's going to sell for a lot of money. Hey, look at this one. Wow. This is a baller card. This is like something you just buy and hold forever, and hopefully it goes up a lot in value one day. Do we have any callers, Gavi? Let's see what else we got here. We can look at Optic 2024. So this Optic is pretty solid to grade as well. Let's click search and let's look at only not graded Optic Gold Ice. These Optic Red Waves are pretty solid. You got one? All right. Or you can let it rip. Hey, what's up, man? You got Eric here. You're live.
Hey, Eric, this is Drew. How are you?
What's up, Drew? Nice to meet you. How may I make your day better?
You too. Hey, I've got some questions.
Yep.
I'm fairly new to the hobby and want to make a side income like you've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Couple things on the Prism product this year.
Yep.
It seems like it's extremely hard to get gems.
Yes.
I've been looking at rookie quarterbacks primarily. I'll look at, I don't know, 100 orange discos a day between the different quarterbacks, and I find like 0 that are going to be gradable. I've bought some. I've got a handful of them that, I bought some of the stuff before I realized kind of what the grading was. And that's another question. But you were talking about the Caitlin Clark stuff and the Prism.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't part of the reason that that price is so high at like $2,800? I was just on GemRate. They've graded 95. They've graded 2
Yeah.
as gems.
Yeah. It's not easy. So, yep.
So that's one of them. And then secondly, on that same point, like if those come back, 2 months from now, if I send it in now, it comes back 2 months from now.
Mhm.
So they've got, I don't know, 25 of them. That's probably going to come down to what, $1,800 maybe.
Are you referring to the Caitlin Clark prisms?
Yeah, just in general, the cards that
Like that.
come back. Yeah,
Yeah. So, okay. Well, there's I guess, few things to unpack. So, number
sure.
one. So, okay. So your goals, I'm assuming it sounds like to make a few grand a month, right? That's usually
Yes.
people's goals, right? And then do you
Yep.
have at least a few grand spending cash spent on cards?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So, all right. So, number one, the first thing, so I could speak from someone who there's over 3,000 students in Major League Profits. And I could tell you because Prism with football, last time I checked, like I think it was 20 or 25% of the cards graded 10, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And if you know what you're doing, you actually make more money when the product is harder to grade. So if it was an easier year to grade Prism, I remember like 2019. I know you may not have been in the hobby, but it was really easy to grade Prism. Like, I don't know, like maybe 60, 70% of the cards were 10. And because of that, everyone would send in cards for grading. And there wasn't much of a competitive advantage because the margins weren't as high. So like today, if you buy a Jaden Daniels disco, maybe it sells for $100, but a 10 you're getting 400. If the product was easier to grade, a 10 you'd be getting 250. So when you have a competitive advantage, like for example, students in our program who I teach, or hopefully I could help you out here to get that competitive advantage. Maybe the average is 20%, but your average is 50%. Because there's a much bigger discrepancy between the average, the public average versus you, because you know what you're doing, you make way more money. So even though you're only getting 50% of the cards to grade at 10, I can tell you the good students in our program get like 50 to 60% of those cards to grade at 10. They're making, bonkers money because, a 9, you break even a little, lose a little bit, a 10, you're quadrupling. So the fact that it's harder to grade, I can tell you this from experience. The harder a product is to grade, if you know what you're doing, you make much more money because there's much more room to have an advantage. And also because people are scared to grade these cards because you got to remember 99% of people in the hobby don't know what they're doing. They're not here to make money. They're breaking open packs and boxes and they just see that most of these cards aren't grading. They just sell them. So it leaves way more cards in the market for you to go through to buy and grade. And also because hopefully you know what you're doing more than the average person, you make much more money. So the harder a product is to grade, like I actually got excited when I saw Prism because I knew my students were going to make much more money because it wasn't going to be easy to grade. Like Caitlin Clark cards, dude, if you could grade, I don't know, 30% of those cards to get a 10, if you send in 10 and 3 grade a 10, you're making a lot of money. So does that answer? What was the first question? Does that answer the first question?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, there was a couple parts of it, right? Like, so originally I was talking about the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL class this year. And I know you've shown like the CJ Stroud from last year and his silver and how it was started at like 2,000, came down to 500.
Yep.
Part of that, right, is going to be the first people that got it back make the most money. And by the time I'm getting it back 2 months from now, isn't it going to be closer to, that
Yeah.
500-600 range?
Yeah. So the way it goes, okay, yeah, you're playing with fire, right? So when a product comes out, you probably heard me say this, right? It starts out really high and comes down, right?
Hmm.
So the same thing happens for PSA 10s. So, right, you might have a card, call it a silver Prism Jaden Daniels. The product comes out,
Hmm.
and for the first 2-3 weeks, it's at $800, then $600, then $500, and then it settles at $400. Now, you could buy the card early, and you could buy it while it's sloping downwards, and buy it, get it graded, spend $75 or whatever it is, so you get the card back much faster. And then when you do that, you're also playing with fire. So
Right.
if you get a PSA 9, you'll probably lose. In this example I'm giving you, you'll probably lose like $200-300. If you grade a 10, you'll probably make $1,500 to $2,000. But you need to
Hmm.
hit both ends of it. So if you were a student in my program, I would tell you wait about 3 to 4 weeks until these products come down. So I'm going to share my screen here, and you're going to be it's going to be a little delayed for you because you're on the phone with me. But
Hmm.
if we go here and let me just type in like Jaden Daniels Silver Prism. So my advice for you, because you're newer in the hobby, is so this Jaden Daniels Silver Prism, right? Came out late December, started at a 550. It was around 550. It comes down, it comes down, it comes down, and now it settled like 2 months later around like mid 200s. So
Hmm.
unless you've been in the hobby and you've bought and graded a lot of cards, I would not. I would wait till it settles down. Wait until you see like 4 to 5 sales consistently within like a 10% window, because that's just if you're a newer student, that's what I would tell you to do. And then once you get the ball rolling and you've made 20, 30, 40, 50 grand from grading cards, take some risks. Fuck it. But I do it all the
Yeah.
time. But cuz you're newer to the
Right.
hobby, you want to see this thing through. You don't want to lose money at first. Do the safest, most conservative thing to make money, so you don't mess up, your confidence level that this thing actually works. So I wait.
Sure.
Usually it's about a month, but wait till the product settles down. I would not buy it while it comes out and while it's going downwards. And then you won't be one of the first PSA 10s, but you'll still make more than enough money. You're doing things
Yeah.
correctly.
That makes sense. That makes sense. eBay's really the only place I've been looking at cards so far. Any
Yeah.
other places or suggestions on where to find like good sources? Because it seems like everybody's just selling the stuff that they know isn't going to grade.
Honestly, man, I wouldn't. I definitely would not say that. I'll be honest with you. So now I don't buy and grade cards as much. When I buy cards, it's usually like cards already graded, higher end stuff, because I don't have the time to grade them anymore. But
Hmm.
when I was grading cards, I would have like, I don't know, like 10 cards to 20 cards of PSA at a time. Each card was like $300 to $500. I'd buy a little bit higher end cards. That
Yeah.
was like my average. I have students and honestly, even that's funny because I teach it and I don't know how students do this. There's like our top students, there's probably like 20, 30, 40 of them. They have like 100 plus cards of PSA at all times. So, and I see it every day. There's like a Discord channel. People are posting cards, they're getting back and selling and making tons of money. Honestly, even though I taught them how to do it, I don't even know how they find that many cards. But
Right.
uh, there's boatloads of cards out there. I was just on eBay for 5 minutes, and I think I bid on one card, which is low for me. If I'm on eBay for 30 minutes, I'll bid on like I'll only look at auctions because I don't have the time to do the whole best offer back and forth, which that's where the best cards are. Usually auctions are the shittier cards, and the better cards are you have to negotiate. I'll bid on 3 to 5 cards in 30 minutes and maybe win 1 to 2 of them. They're out there. It's just a lack of uh knowledge, because if you've been doing this for 5 years, you'd be your eyes would just be, okay, this card's good, this card's good. So my advice to you, obviously this is coming from someone that sells a program. Don't buy my program. You can reach out to someone else in sports cards that's been doing it a long time and just, ask for some help, and you could pay forward your, like, as Alex Hermosi calls it, this guy, follow your ignorance tax, because you could just get good and just
Hmm.
piggyback off of someone that's been doing it for a long time. So I don't want to come across like the person like I'm trying to sell you something, but that'd be my advice. It's not for a lack of cards on eBay. It's just for a lack of knowledge and lack of
Yeah, I
experience,
gotcha.
which is fair because you're newer. So that's why you're here calling
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So I can hopefully help you.
Right, exactly. So I bought primarily, cards that are 25 bucks and under. I made my first PSA submission. I was interested to see what it came back at before I
Yeah.
started, just to get a better idea of, what my eye looks like versus what theirs do.
Yep.
All the stuff that I have, I've got a ton of McCarthy, some Penix, some Drake May, some Jaden Daniels. And with the draft coming up, post it right around the draft time, would you say?
So these are okay. If you're buying cards for $25, have you heard what I said about making sure you 2 extra money?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so make sure you're because it's some cards you won't, some cards you will. With Prism.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of them were the bomb squads that you'd mentioned.
Oh, okay.
I had checked comps on all of it, to make sure. Even some of the stuff that I thought was nines, I was sending in because the nines were coming back at right around, 25, $30. So
Yeah. So
that was some of the stuff that I sent in.
yeah, so those bomb squads. This is why sports cards is tricky. So like bomb squad cards and base cards and cards for $10, $20, $30. As the season gets closer, because there's so many PSA 10s, those cards actually start to trend downwards. So like let me try to show you. Let me try to show you an example. So if I share my screen, once again, it might be delayed for you. But if we look at like I haven't looked at this, like Jaden Daniels bomb squad. Let me look at another bomb squad. Nah, it's not gonna pop up. Donruss, Jaden Daniels, PSA 10. Okay. So a Jaden Daniels Donruss PSA 10 base. This is a base card. The first ones that came out as PSA 10s, they were like 200 plus. And then now this card is $80 about, something like that. And it's actually trending downwards. If you look in the past 30 days, it's slowly going down. It'll probably keep slowly going down until the season starts. Not because Jaden Daniels is a crappy player, but just because there's so many PSA 10s coming to the market. So those lower end $20, $30 cards, sell them right away every single time. And then for even if you were buying cards, like the only types of cards you should be holding is like Prism Color, maybe Silver Prisms will go up. But these are cards that are going to go up maybe 20% if you're lucky, right? So just do the math.
Yeah.
If you buy a card for $100, right, and you get it graded and it's a 10, great. Now it's $300. Well, you could either sell that card today and get $300 or wait 2-3 months to get an extra, what would that be, $60, right? Would you rather just take that $300 today and do the same thing you did over again before that card ever goes up 20%, right? I'm sure you've heard the word opportunity cost. It's not mathematically worth it for you to hold.
Right.
Now,
no, I plan to sell them as soon as I get them back.
Always sell.
By the time I get them back, what's the market gonna be at? You know what I mean?
And that's why you buy in the off season and kind of follow what I say because you're right. You're buying a card and it's going to sit at the grading company for a month or 2 months, whatever it might be. And it may not be worth more when you get it back. But the hope is it won't be worth less. It'll either be worth the same or more. So you're just putting your money in the best possible position. If it's worth more, great. If it's worth less, you probably did something wrong. If it's worth the same, that's what I would expect. So yeah, hopefully that kind of helps you out. But yes, always sell right away, especially because you're newer. Like there'll be a point, like maybe next year for football, for example, where you start holding cards. But if it's gonna affect your purchasing power, always sell right away because it's always worth it for you to have money with in cards at PSA rather than you holding to make an extra 10, 20%. And then number two, even if you have $1 million in cash to spend, I would tell you, do not hold anything because you're newer and you want to see this work, right? I don't know if I could speak from someone who's taught thousands of students. I could tell you when a student joins my program, more than half the time, their wife's up their ass. Their parents call them an idiot. Their uncle makes fun of them, right? They're like, oh my God, you're a stupid idiot. You paid this guy money to learn sports cards, right? You have all these people up your ass and they'll keep making fun of you until you show them, hey, look, I made $4,000 last month, and then they'll shut up. Then they'll be like, "Whoa, how'd you do that?
Right.
Can you teach me?" Right. So I you know, this comes from a lot of experiences. You could probably tell because I don't know how your family is, but I could tell you when I first started buying and selling sports cards, and I come from a very heavy like sports family. My family loves sports. My dad, sports my whole life. Even when I first started buying and selling sports cards, my dad was like, "You're an idiot. You're not going to make money." And then I started making money. Then he was like, "Wow, I did not expect that." But yeah, just so I would. You owe it to yourself to just sell those cards right away. Get the confidence. Rub it in your family's face that hey, this works. Stop bothering me about it, and then go along your way. But I don't know if you're married, but a lot of people are listening to this.
Oh
So.
yeah. Yep.
Is your wife one of
Sounds
those
familiar.
that's up your butt?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
It's
It's all good. I have a bit of an addictive personality, and it's more that than it is
yeah.
whether or not it's going to work.
You
or
know what
not.
you know what I tell. What do you do for work?
I was in sales for 20 years, and now I help my wife run her business.
Okay,
And I do the financial part of it.
Nice. So you're in sales.
Yeah.
So you understand sales. So
Oh yeah.
if you opt into our system, you'll get a call from one of our appointment setters. If you're qualified, they'll put you on a sales call, right, with one of our salespeople, like one of our coaches, who, if it makes sense, will try to enroll you into the program. And you know what we tell people for our sales objection when people say, "Let me talk to my wife." This is what we tell people. So everyone listening to this, you can expect to hear this. What we say to people is, "Listen, man, let's be honest. You're going to go to your wife, and you're going to tell her about sports cards, buying a program, and guess what she's going to say to you? You think she's going to be jumping up on the kitchen table, clapping for you to do it? Of course not. No. But join, right? It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And then once you're making money, show her the money so she's off your back because she's going to be skeptical, right? I don't blame her, right? You saw some random 20-year-old kid, 27-year-old kid on the internet running around saying you can make sports cards. She's probably going to think it's a scam, just like a lot of people do. And then show her the profit, show her the proof, and then she'll be off your back. But let's not ask her, right? Because we know the answer. Any wife is going to say, no,
Right.
Don't do it, right?
Right.
So that's what, if you ever get on a sales call, you can expect to hear that. If you ever use the wife objection. So giving you fair warning.
Sounds good. Hey, on the stuff that I'm going to get rid of that isn't going to grade, selling individually versus selling lots. What do you think? Like
You make
$10 and
more.
over, sell individual, and everything else sell lots just to get rid of it, or what would you say?
You make more individually. And then if you're doing it right, you should lose about. So if you buy a card you should lose about 10 to 15% your money after shipping, grading, all that crap. If it grades a 9, and you should be over doubling your money if it grades a 10. If you're doing it right.
Right.
So it's way easier to sell 9s. Like it's not fun to auction 9s on eBay because sometimes they'll really do low. But building connections. Have you seen what I said about building connections?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is for like 9s and selling those. Just selling them to repackers or people that really want them. Because like collectors, like when you go and sell a 10 of Jaden Daniels, like a PSA 10 on eBay, more than likely a collector of Jaden Daniels, someone who thinks he's a great quarterback and wants to invest in him long term, is buying it. But a PSA, and those collectors tend to buy PSA 10s, right? If Jaden Daniels is your favorite player, you're probably going to want to buy 10s rather than 9s. So eBay is not a fun place to auction those, but having connections and repackers and meeting people on social media, good for 9s. But I would not hold the 9s either if I was in your shoes.
What about raw? What about the raw stuff that
Same
I
thing.
haven't sent in for grading?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're doing things right, so you probably have already experienced this. Not every card you buy is gonna go in for grading. You'll buy a card on eBay sometimes, and you'll think it's great, and it'll come in, and the seller lied to you and Photoshop the shitty corner or something. It happens once in a while.
Yeah, no, it happens like every time I buy something.
Yeah. So, well, if you're doing it right, about 8.
Not every time, but a good amount of it.
8 to 9. So. If you're like, I could just speak from our program. If you're on the lower end of things, 8 out of 10 cards you buy going for grading. If you're on the higher end of things, 9 out of 10 cards you buy going for grading. But not every card's gonna be going for grading. And you're newer, so I'd expect you to do like, if you could send it in for grading 6 to maybe 7 out of 10 cards you buy for grading, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I can check the measure or the centering and the corners pretty easily. It's the print lines and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like I got a
the surface
McCarthy
is
Blue Scope
yeah.
optic that was real hard to see. I bought some Red Wave optics that look great online, and then they've got some print lines when you see them. But
Yeah,
and all that stuff, I don't even
that'll
send that
that
in.
will happen.
So.
However, what I would say is don't be too picky. If the only thing you could find on a card is like a small dimple, or like a light print line, send it in. It's a crapshoot. I can't tell you how many cards I've sent in for grading that I was like, fuck it, this is gonna 9, but whatever, and it gets a 10. Then cards I'm certain get a 10, get a 9. It's like an educated guess at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's why I'm really interested to get my submission back, and that's why I like the orange discos because they kind of blend in a little bit more.
Yeah, those are some of the easier
than
cards
some
to
of the silvers and
The orange
yeah,
discos, for whatever reason, don't have I don't know why, but the corners are usually better and they have less surface issues. I could tell you, you probably heard me say this before, but the number one card students have made the most amount of money on in the 3,000 students
I
I've
have
taught
heard you say that. That's why I bought them.
it's the orange disco prism because the margin's there and it's easier. Why? I have no idea.
Yeah,
but it's just how it is.
Yeah, I sent 4 McCarthy's of those, and I bought a Penix the other day, and
those are really solid cards. Like they're colored, collectors love them. Super easy to sell. Those are and orange lasers too, which are similar. They look similar.
Yeah, yep. Gotcha.
But did I answer your second question? You got me on a tangent there.
Yeah, yep.
Cool.
Yep, they were 2 questions off the same thing, but yeah.
Sweet. Is there any other?
One last thing.
Yeah, let it rip.
Yeah. So you mentioned buying in the off season. What about during the season if the player's like not playing well?
No, I wouldn't. Just
No,
something I would do
just because the timing on waiting to sell it.
When you have more experience. Like it's a risky play. It's kind of like it's similar to like if you know what you're doing, you can make a lot of money. Like I do it all the time. I'll buy football guys. Like so, I buy cards usually already graded for the most part, and I'll mess around and buy some guys in like November, in October when they're really down. But you know, I've sold millions of dollars in cards. It's a risky play. I do it sometimes and I lose my ass. You know, overall it makes me money, but I would not.
Yeah,
I would. And the only sport I would really do it for, you can do it for any of them. But football is really good because it really fluctuates on a week to week basis. So you just find someone. You know, it's week 9. They sprained their ankle, had a terrible game. You know they're going to come back in a month. You buy them really cheap. You find some auctions on eBay that are ending that night. There were people overreacted. They sell for way under comps. And because people with football, you know, football obviously is on Sunday, and they will end cards Sunday night of these football players, hoping they played a good game and the auction does well. And then, you know, you could buy it really cheap. But I would most certainly not do that yet if I was in your shoes. Too risky.
Gotcha.
Because
Cool.
you don't know. But I'll look like I'll look at a player's schedule. I remember I did this with. Do you remember that game when I don't know if you remember this. Remember the game? This is like 4 years ago or 3 years ago. Lamar Jackson had that crazy spin move against the Bengals.
Yeah.
So the week before, 2 weeks before, something like that, Lamar Jackson cards, he was not playing well. And they were down a lot. And I bought Lamar Jackson cards the week before, knowing they're about to play the Bengals, and he rips the Bengals every time, and they had a terrible defense. And I think he was playing an easy defense the next week, and it went up 50% just from that one game. He had like a crazy bonkers game. So just showing you like what you could do, but I would not do that yet if I was in your shoes.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. I appreciate your time.
Well, sweet, Drew. Any other questions? Just hit me up. Feel free to call in next week. Or we do this on Wednesdays now. So Wednesday, feel free to call in. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
All
See
right,
you.
Bye-bye. There's some questions in the chat. How much is to join your program? I cannot say that on live because the price does fluctuate a little bit depending on the demand we have. So I cannot say that online. If I were you, I would just opt into one of our forums and someone will call you or text you. And then, Eric, if I may, I've been in sales for 15 years, currently managing a sales department at a BMW store. Congrats. That's a lot of hard work. What can I do to position myself to join a team like yours and to train and help people? Good question. Appreciate you reaching out, but we only hire people in Tampa. So yeah, because we actually just bought, we're renting an office right now, and we just bought actually a legit like full on office building. We get the keys late May, we only have sales reps in house now. So if you're in Tampa, hit me up. If you're not in Tampa or the greater Tampa area, be no good, unfortunately. All right, go for it.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? You got Eric here. You're live.
Hey, how are you, Eric?
What's up, man? What's your name?
Bryant.
Bryant.
Uh-huh. Yep, with a
Cool.
T. Kind of odd.
Sweet.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little bit.
no worries. I like it. What's the deal? How can I make your day better today?
So I have a couple of questions. So
Okay.
I've been following you pretty recently, like as whenever you live stream, basically all the time.
Nice.
Just trying to get more info.
Sweet.
I wouldn't say I'm new to the hobby, but I've kind of waiting on a coaching call back. I think I have a Zoom appointment for the program. Just kind of seeing
Nice.
what's out there, trying to get better.
Yep.
So I do have a couple questions though. So I started kind of buying a card a day. I think I've heard you say that. At least buying one card a day for
Yep.
like 5 days. So I've been trying to do that just to kind of get newer players. I have some inventory from when I've kind of was in the hobby and I left it alone a little bit and then picking it back up. But my question is on the grading side. A lot of times, I've sent in the PSA before, but sending in to PSA, like for me sending it in, let's say I send 5 cards, it's usually, of course, the value selection or whatever. It's like $25 a
Yep.
card.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to send in on your own, or is it better to go in with somebody and send in like GameStop or a place? That was kind of my biggest, to try to get cost of card down to try to help on the resale part.
Yeah.
If it comes back a 9, I'm not so tied into the shipping and et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Let me give you the answer to I'll give you the answer to your question and an example, like a business example, because
Okay.
my life revolves around
Okay.
business. So I'll give you an example. So
Awesome.
I could speak from someone who's taught a lot of students. Generally speaking, not every time, but I would say 70 to 80% of our most successful students do everything themselves. Because when you do everything yourself,
Okay.
not that you make more money, but you build connections. Building connections is going to make you more money. And also you control things go a little bit faster. But at the end of the day, if you're following what I say, or hopefully, you're about to speak with one of our salespeople, if you join the program, great. And if you follow what's inside the program and, you follow what I lay out in my content for free as well, if you follow it correctly, you'll most likely make money. If you don't, you're not going to make money. So if you're buying the right cards at the right time and following all that stuff, whether you send cards to GameStop or do it yourself, you're going to make money. If you do that stuff wrong and you don't listen to what we say or do things incorrect, you're not going to make money. You're going to lose money, whether you do it yourself or sending things into GameStop. It's kind of like, here's a good example from business. So with Major League Profits, right? We help people make money with sports cards is what we do. And like the core of our business, people pay us money. We help them make them more money, right? So we have all these nice pieces of apparel. We look very professional. We make all of our employees wear what I'm wearing right now. We have a nice logo, but whether we have these nice shirts and nice logos and all this and a nice website, all that shit doesn't matter. We make more money as Major League Profits if we're good at what we do, right? We help people make money with sports cards. We get more referrals, more testimonials, right? Part of the reason you're about to speak with one of our salespeople, right, is because you've probably researched us and be like, wow, this actually works. So whether we have nice shirts and nice logos or we don't, does not affect how much money we make. We just do it because it looks a little bit nicer and it's cool. Same thing with sports cards. If you're doing the right stuff at the right time, just like, are we doing the right stuff by teaching people and getting people to be good at it? If we do that, we'll make money. If you follow the procedure for sports cards, you'll make money. Whether you send it to yourself or you don't, AKA whether we have a nice logo and nice shirts, we do or we don't, has no effect on how much money you'll make. Very little.
Got you. I just didn't know if it's like, like buying the collector's program part of PSA, like being in that club, if that, or do we send it in bulk? Because like, I didn't know. My second part of my question is that, of course, like buying, if you buy the subscription to PSA, obviously it's a little bit cheaper. But then I didn't know, because I'm buying 5 cards a week. So in my mind, like I have a submission that my first submission that I sent to them was like 5 cards that's coming back, of course, sometime. And then, of course, I'm starting to buy. So like today I'll go and look for a card, obviously, to buy. But I didn't know if like I wait like a week, I get 5 cards, I send those 5 in. So it seems to me to be like timing of sending it in. Does that make sense? And have multiple submissions, so stuff's coming back.
I would
So
just
it's always
send
a constant loop.
if I were you. So where do you live in the country? I hear a Southern accent.
Texas.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, Texas.
So
a little bit.
yeah, where do you live in Texas?
Close to Dallas, about 2 hours away.
Nice. So I was gonna say, so
east.
Gotcha. So back before the pandemic, Beckett was actually the company to use instead of PSA, and you could have just drove to Beckett every single week and just got your cards back the same day. When I did this stuff, before the pandemic, Beckett was the place, and to get your cards back in one day, it was like $25 at the time. So I would send it to my buddy who lives in, I think the town is called Browning, Texas. And I don't know.
I know where that's at.
Yeah. So I think it's like 2 hours away from Dallas. He would drive there, drop off all of our cards, me and a bunch of others. He was a group submitter. He'd go eat barbecue. He'd come back 3 or 4 hours later, pick up all the cards one day, $25, and that's it. But you don't have that luxury anymore because Beckett is not as good anymore, so you won't make as much money.
They'll kill the cost, for sure.
Yeah.
The percentage.
But yeah, I would. And what's your budget for buying cards? Like your bankroll?
I've thought about that, and even when I talk to sales, it's kind of tricky on me. I don't really have. I mean, I guess I do have a budget, right? I mean, everybody has. I mean,
is it more than
in my mind?
Do you have a few grand
to do it right? I mean, I can. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll say yeah. Let's just say yes.
So I would do it yourself, because I could tell you like 70 to 80% of our success stories, all those testimonials you've seen on our website, do it themselves. Not all of them, but most of them. And then every Friday or whatever day you can go to the post office, just make it consistent. Every Tuesday, every Friday, whatever it is. And then just whether you bought, the mail is going to vary. Maybe if you let's say you go to the post office every Friday at 10 a.m. Sometimes you'll have 3 cards to send in. Sometimes you have 12. Sometimes you have 8, 6, 2, 9. Whatever. But just keep it consistent. And then the whole goal is you get these cards back.
Awesome.
From grading, and you create this momentum, and you're getting cards back every week. You're selling them. You're making money, and then you're doing the same thing over and over again. But I would just whatever day you're most available, I would do it on that day.
Send in weekly if I can.
Yes, I would, just so you're not then you're gonna start asking yourself, oh shit, I have these cards coming in. Maybe I should wait another day, and then you have more cards coming in the next day. Just make it the same time, same day, and then people use our all-in-one. So the all-in-one service we have, where you could flip cards without grading them, without touching them. So people use that.
It's kind of crazy to me a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's what I've done for a long time. That's when I used to say, especially when I used to send cards to my buddy in Texas, I used to buy cards, get them graded. He would hold them for me. I would sell them the minute I get them back, and he'd ship them for me. So I would never touch the cards. A lot of the cards I would flip. But
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And also eBay had no sales tax back in the day. So I'd buy a card for $100, pay no tax on it, just go right to him. And it was crazy. I'd buy a card on a Tuesday. It'd be to him by Friday morning, and it'd be graded Friday evening, and I'd flip it. Things went way faster.
Wow.
But the margins were less. So I'd buy a card for $200 and flip it for $320. That's what I was doing.
Right.
But yeah, I would do it yourself. And I was going to say something else. Shit, I forgot what it was. But yeah, I'd be doing it yourself. And
then a weekly deal, basically, like a program, basically. Whatever I bought the previous week and have gotten in and it looks tradable, send it in.
Yep. And what I was going to say is the people that use the all-in-one service most of them are the people that are just either travel a lot, because we get a lot of people in our program that are corporate guys. They have their corporate jobs, they make good money, they want to make an extra few grand a month. So some of these corporate guys travel a lot. So, and then when they're not traveling, they're home with their kids, and they don't want to piss off their wife by shipping stuff. So they they use the all-in-one service. But if you don't travel a lot and you have an hour a week to do it every Friday at 10 a.m., I would do it yourself.
Yeah. Say me, I wanted to be more hands-on. I guess more looking at it like a business. I, kind of dabble in a bunch of stuff, but I like that part of it. I guess doing it myself, looking at the cards. I mean, I guess maybe I'll get to a point where maybe I don't, but I don't know. I guess it's enjoyable. It's nothing satisfying than opening a PSA box and seeing your grades.
You're right,
still
dude.
It's kid in you a little bit.
It's like crack.
Even I'm ready to clip it, and I don't. Yeah,
it's like crack. You don't know what's gonna be in there.
Yeah, so I mean that's the excitement of it, if any, but But my last question is so I'm focused honing in on buying cards, obviously, right?
Yep.
So I just focus in straight on quarterbacks. I don't bullshit with running backs, anybody.
Yep.
I don't care. Straight quarterbacks. But my question is I see, and I'll try to do a little bit, and I know prisms, like for instance, prism silvers, and I don't try to buy base. I always try to buy color. I try to here lately. I like optic a lot. All the optics usually look good to me. I don't know why. But is there something I should focus on? Dollar amount, and above. And of course, I obviously look up the PSA 10s, PSA 9s, trying to see if I can cut it as even as I can.
Yep.
And obviously, I'm buying all football right now. But is there something I should, hey, don't do base, don't do Prism. I know Prism is extremely hard to grade from the 24 from what I've heard from y'all and everybody else I see kind of in the hobby. So I've been trying to buy like Donruss Optic. I like the Optic products a lot. Color Prism I'm looking for, orange, pink. I buy a lot of pink parallel from Optic. But is there anything you suggest or dollar amount? Say, hey, you need to focus on this amount, nothing below.
Yeah, the sweet spot.
Just I guess inside.
Sweet spot is $50 to $200 generally, and
okay.
You want to make sure, you've probably heard me say this a bunch. You want to make sure you're at least doubling your money.
Yeah.
So that's the sweet spot.
Sure. Okay.
To narrow down more, the real 75 to 125 is like the real sweet spot. But stay within that range because when you go to more expensive cards, they're harder to grade. The margin percentage is less.
Yeah.
I would not do that yet.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the sweet spot.
And then know if something grades better than something else. Like if something's like you send those are really hard to grade. And that's kind of my thing. Like me sending in a Kaboom. A Kaboom looks like the hardest thing ever to grade, or a downtown.
Yeah, and they actually don't have the greatest margins. And what you'll discover inside the program, like if you buy it, do what is best for your situation. But
no, for sure.
You'll gain a competitive advantage. So if you heard me earlier in the podcast, I was talking to, I think his name was Drew. I was telling him that, okay, Prism is harder to grade, right? So I think like 20 or 25% of the cards get a 10. So that's actually advantageous for someone like yourself who hopefully have an advantage because you'll know what you're doing. And even though Optic, right? Like Optic, maybe you can get 65% of those cards to 10 or 70%. Prism, you'll only get 50% of those cards to 10 if you're good. However, you'll make more money with Prism because when you get 1 to 10, you'll quadruple your money, as opposed to Optic, you like 2.5 times your money, right? So you actually make more money. Like I have students in the program that are making money hand over fist, and they're grading Prism at a 50% clip, but they're making tons of money. You quadruple your money when you get a 10. When you get a 9, you lose like 10%.
But it's still worth it because of the margins that they're selling the Prisms 10s.
Yeah, it's always
that's what it's about.
Yep, it's always give and take. The harder a card is to grade, the more margin you make if you're able to get a 10. And it's actually like just coming from someone who like has thousands of students, the program makes more money. Like students are making more money now than last year because Prism is harder to grade because there's much more room to have an advantage.
Population.
Right? Yeah. And there's more cards out there to get graded because people are scared to grade them. So even though the percent of cards that grade at 10 will be like 50, you're decent. The bottom line is right here, you're here to make money, of course. So you make more money.
For sure. So last question, and then I'll leave you alone.
Oh, you're good.
So if like me, I have a little boy, so I say he's little, he's 6, of course. So some of the older cards like Patrick Mahomes, I was like, obviously he's going to be one of the greats of the games just because, and his card prices were always stupid. So I have a couple of his, like an Optic, looks really good. I'm actually going to send it in for grading because I know for sure it can come back, I would think a 9 or a 10 because it looks really good on centering, etc. So of course I'm just going to sell it obviously because I'm going now for liquid, like you say. I can buy that card later on when I'm making money and just rebuy it if I wish.
I see you've listened to the content I've seen.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So I'm selling. I'm in sell mode for everything. Nothing is prized. But my question is like Patrick Mahomes. I'll use him for just an example. His base cards for Optic usually, I mean, it's very rare, like $200-$300 was raw. And now his dipped so far down to like 148. I think in the program, and I think watching you, following, kind of putting some common sense. Buying modern cards, up to date, 24 quarterbacks, for instance, they're newer cards. Obviously, they haven't been out in production, people breaking, they're in better condition. Obviously, better to get a grade.
Mhm.
Will you go back on a semi-goat, I would call, and buy older cards like that dip for Patrick Mahomes and an optic? Would you go buy all the cards you can find to try to get 10s, even though I know there's way more 9s and 10s, obviously, by population report? But do you ever go backwards and buy people and send older people back for grading? I know that's hard because their cards have been in population for so long.
No. Let me
Okay.
here. I'll show you why. All right. All right, check this out. Yeah, it's gonna be a little delayed for you, so bear with me. But all right, if
For
we go here and look at an Optic Mahomes card, right? So his Optic PSA 10,
Yep.
like base, is $1,000, right? $1,000.
Yep.
And not graded is like 300. Yeah, 280 to 300 in that range, right? Just around there. So you're about, call it 3xing your money. Okay. Now, if we compare that to a 2024 Silver Prism, let's do it different. Let's do let's do a random card. Caleb Williams Orange Disco. This is a good card to look at. Prism.
Yeah, so actually cards I'm looking for.
Yeah, so this card, a Caleb Williams Orange Disco, a 10 is $345, and raw is $90. So you're making just like the percent of money you're making is the same as the Mahomes, right? It's about 3, maybe a little bit more, 3 times. However, you know how much easier it is to grade a Caleb Williams Orange Disco than a 2017 Mahomes? It is infinitely. I can't even put a number on it.
Because of the years.
Yes, it is infinitely easier. Like
Makes sense.
If a card from 2017 of Mahomes is not graded, there's a reason, right? I always,
exactly.
I haven't used this analogy in a long time. People used to get pissed off at me when I say this. This is gonna rub some people the wrong way, but to give you an example from the dating world, wow, it's been I think it's been a year since I've said this. I used to say this all the time. So I should not be saying this because my girlfriend could be listening to this, and we've only been dating for a month, so I hope she's not listening to this. But right, if you find right a girl, like let's say you're me, right? I'm 27. You're 27 years old. Maybe let's use 29. Right, you're 29 years old, 30 years old, and you're single. You find a girl, and she looks great. Looks great, hot. Looks amazing. If I find a girl like that, and I'm 30 years old and single, I'm asking myself, what's the catch?
What's the reason?
What's the reason you're not graded yet? Or AK, what's the reason you're not in a relationship? And not every time, but there's usually a reason. And you may not see it just like on a picture of a Mahomes card. You may not see it at first because it looks great. But 3 months into that relationship, she fucking slashes your tires because you came home late, right? And
that's the reason.
Yeah, and then you're like, shit, there it is. Now I'm balls deep into the relationship, and just like you're balls deep into the card, you already sent it off for grading. It came back, you got a 7, and now you're screwed, right? So I really hope she's not listening to this because she's 26 and we just started dating. But you're amazing.
You're deep shit.
You're amazing, girlfriend. So keep up what you're doing. But it's a great analogy because it's so true. You have something's too good to be true. You have to ask yourself, all right, what's the catch? Sometimes there's not a catch. Like the most money I made on a card last year was a 2018 Bowman Chrome Otani Atomic. The card's like 5 years old. I took a gamble. It worked. But I've been doing this a long time. And, just like my beautiful girlfriend, right? I took a gamble on you and you're amazing and you're perfect. So there's no catch. It's a good analogy.
Overall, it's not worth the gamble. It makes sense though. Not worth the gamble for the age, and you could just make just as much, maybe a little bit more percentage or less percentage on newer cards that are easier to grade. It totally makes sense when you look at things how they actually are, the money behind it, not the prestige of grading or I got this in a 10. With the way I guess that you preach and the way we do it, it doesn't matter in the cards anyways because we're flipping the shit as soon as we get it. So
I the things I say out loud. On this podcast, that's why I piss a lot of people off in the hobby because like I teach people how to make money. Like I promote sports cards as a money-making opportunity because that's what I've done my whole life and it's changed my life and that's what I teach. So the advice I give you is strictly to hopefully make you the most amount of money. That's the advice. And like Caleb Williams, if you're going to make the same money, whether you're buying a 2024 Caleb Williams or 2017 Mahomes. Even though you're right, it's nice to say out loud, I graded this Mahomes a 10. Fantastic. But right,
Yeah.
you're here because you want to make an extra few grand a month to change your life, hopefully. Right, pay the mortgage
Exactly.
or
Yep.
whatever you got going on over there. And
Yep.
that's the advice I give.
10-4. All right, man. Well, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully, obviously, I think my sales call's on maybe Friday or something like that with the coach. So see how it goes and kind of, yeah, but I definitely will follow you, man. I appreciate all the insight
Sweet.
and the
All right,
info and hopefully, yeah, get better. So
be prepared to be sold. If they think you're a good fit, they're gonna push hard to get you to buy it. So come in energetic and hydrated.
hydrated, damn. Okie dokie.
All
All right, man.
right,
Thank you.
Brian. It's nice talking to you.
Thanks.
All right, bye. There's another one. Wow, full of energy on this Monday morning. Hey, what's up? You got Eric?
What's up, Eric? It's PC.
PC, what's up, PC? How's it going?
I'm good. How you doing?
Not too bad. Better now that you're calling, right?
Yes, sir. I've a few questions and then one comment / question. But first one. So NFL
Wait, PC,
football cards.
your audio sounds a little funny. Are you using speaker or AirPods or something?
Yeah, is this better?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So for football cards, I started buying some like December, January, February, depending on the player, send it off to get graded. And then I did get a bunch of my cards back recently. But like one of them was a PSA 10 Mahomes Genesis, kaleidoscopic Saquon, X, Y, and Z, right? Honeycomb Mahomes. I know football heats up mostly around like July, end of June-ish, July, August. And I definitely want to sell before the season. But my question is, would it be better to just hold these for like a month or two? But because the comps, I don't know with the comps. And then like, when I sell them, people will always want it at a percentage. I try to go no lower than 85%. But I'm wondering if it's even worth it. I'm not in a rush to sell these, and even if I were to liquidate, I can liquidate and buy more cards. But my question is like, how much? I feel like the increase just by holding it in a guaranteed 10 because I already got the card graded. I feel like if it's waiting, 2 months to go up like 20, 25, 30%. I thought it might be worth it. But then again, like I wanted to hear your thoughts because technically it's still the off season. It's even before the draft, so I actually sold the Honeycomb Mahomes, the Genesis at a card show, but I do have a few more
Well,
that I
let me.
might.
Here, I'll give you a simple answer. Ready? I'll have you answer your own question. So the Honeycomb
Yeah,
Mahomes, what do you pay for it?
I could tell you. I have a spreadsheet. Well, let's use the Genesis as an example because that one
Genesis.
got a
Okay.
10. Yeah, the Honeycomb. Hold on, pulling it up. All right, the Honeycomb, the Genesis. I paid $135.95,
Yep.
$20 to get graded, so $155.
Yep.
And then I ended up selling it for $260, so I made $104. But my question is, could I have made even more than that? Right?
Well, okay. So one, okay, multiple things. So how long did it take you to go through that process of making that $104?
Well, as soon as I got it, I sent it out. As soon as literally I got it, I picked it up on Friday, and then the card show was this past Saturday.
So
So
wait, so when did you buy it and when did you sell it? Was it like 2 months, a month and a half?
I bought this on January 26th. I got it back. Was it the 4th? Whatever Friday was, and then I sold it on the 5th.
So February, March. So about 2 months and some change it took you. 2 months and 10 days, right? Let's call it.
Yeah.
So you you're into it for 150 basically. You sold it for 260. You made about 100. You made about a 70% profit, right? Not 100% profit would mean you doubled your money. You made about 70% on your money in 2 months, right? So
Yeah.
if you held that Mahomes card and
Mm-hmm.
you held it till August, let's say it went up 20%, which it wouldn't. That card would not go up 20%, but pretend it did. Most likely it would not. Do you think it's worth it to just sell it now and repeat what you just did another time or two before it ever hits August, or which hopefully will make 70% again, if not more, or wait to make 20%? The answer is obvious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I understand like opportunity costs and
Yep.
like just kind of doing this again within that time period, but I guess maybe not even waiting till August, like even waiting till the draft, right? Till after the draft, maybe they pick up a wide receiver, or who knows what's gonna happen. But that my question is like, is my goal as soon as I get the cards to flip it, or if the next big event, for example, the draft, or like let's say I got the cards in mid-June, is it worth it to hold it for 2 weeks, not selling it low while everyone's buying low, but when the hype is there, then trying to sell it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So that brings me to my other point. So,
Hmm.
okay, here's a good example. So I'll share my screen here. So
Hmm. I'll watch it. I'll watch it after I'm done
yeah,
with the call.
sounds good. So this is this is a 2022 Mosaic Mahomes Genesis. So it's 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but the cards are similar enough. So this card, as you see, if you look from June of last year till when you get closer to the season, there was a sale in June of 280, or May 22nd, a Genesis Mahomes 2022 sold for 280. And then again, it sold September 5th, so right before the season started, for 225. So it actually went down in value. Okay? And why do you think, I'm curious, let me ask you, why do you think that card went down in value? A Genesis
2022.
Mahomes.
I don't know. Maybe
So
more to market.
yeah. So let me explain to you how sports cards works, right? So you hear me say all the time, buy in the off season, right? Sell it when it gets closer to the season, right? So why do players go up in value when you get closer to the season? Well, because hype, demand, and people get excited that Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud or whoever is about to play. When people get excited, their values go up. Now, when you are playing that game of the hype game, it only works for rookie cards. It does not work for veteran cards because you're playing off of hype, right? So, and also it only works for newer guys, right? Mahomes, even though he's great, doesn't get hype. Everybody knows he's like the GOAT or one of the GOATs, right? Just like when do you play with the stock market at all?
Not really.
Okay, well,
I suck with.
you'll understand this example, right? Let's say you bought the Disney stock, right? Disney, multi-trillion-dollar company. If they
Yeah,
have a
blue chip.
good quarter or a bad quarter, their stock goes up 1 or 2%, right? Doesn't go up much or down much, right? Because everyone knows they're a solidified company. However, Tesla, which was a newer company, like 15 years old, a few years ago, when they started to pop off, their stock like quadrupled or 10x, whatever happened. Because hype, like there's volatility when things are newer because people get excited, right? So there will be no volatility with Mahomes or Josh Allen because people know they're great. We've seen it year after year. However, there could be hype and volatility with CJ Stroud or Caleb Williams because they're newer, right? New things are volatile. Old things that are proven are not volatile. They're proven. And that's why they're not volatile. So, one, sell that Mahomes card right away. It's a good card to make money on. If I would try to double your money next time, but just any veteran card, sell it right away. Because that whole hype game, selling to the season, only works with rookies.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I think I was trying to combine the two. I realized I tend to normally go for the blue chip guys just because I don't want to be held. I don't want to have like receivers or freaking even T-Law, right? Someone whose value can tank. So I try to have like Mahomes, personally Jalen Hurts, even though people don't respect him. Go Birds, by the way. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I did recently buy a bunch of rookies. They're at PSA right now, but most of the stuff that I bought in the off season, or once the off season kind of started, was, or even back in December, was like the Mahomes and stuff, and a lot of that was to sniping on auctions. But okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Another question. This is kind of tied into my third question, but um, I have a Jalen Hurts blank slate PSA 10, 2024. It's a pop 2, no comps. Um, and it's so weird because, I tried doing the multiplier and I'm like, man, I don't know if, maybe I'm not being realistic on what I should expect from this card, but it seems pretty low, especially given I checked other people's markets. Like there was a non-rookie CJ Stroud that did like 600, 700 in PSA 10. Um, there was a Dak Prescott that sold for like 575 PSA 10. That's obviously not rookie. And so in my mind, I'm like, man, Hurts, he should be at least their price. But if I do the whole multiply rule, then I don't see that I guess return on that card. So it's a pop 2. I don't think there's one to market. What would you do? Would you just kind of list it at your price for a little while and then, eventually just kind of go lower? Or
What'd
would
you
you,
pay?
for that card, let me look it up real quick.
And its origins, the product?
Yeah, it's Origins. So it's a blank slate. It's,
Yep.
yeah, so 183 total for 203.66. So I'm making money regardless, but my thing is, I don't want to sell it for, just double my money, sell it for 400, because I do feel like I could get like 600 plus for this card, maybe, or at least like 600.
Nah,
So
you're not gonna get that much. A raw did like 160, PSA 90 to 130. That's a hard card to grade though, so you should make some money. Um,
yeah,
so like if
yeah. I mean, yeah, my the reason why I say like 600 is because, or around 600 is because, like I said, a non-rookie CJ Stroud I did see, a
yep,
few days ago,
I'm looking at that card right now. So
and,
like
and even a Dak Prescott,
yeah,
which that guy's a bum, but
it depends on the year, but yeah. So
Cowgirls.
so
Anyway,
Stroud did 2.5 times from raw to graded, and I would expect the same out of Hurts. So I would expect that card to do like four, hmm, four, low fours maybe. But if it's a rare card, so you could be greedy and you could, try to get 5 or 6. All it takes is one buyer. But if you auction that card today, I think if I had to guess, I would say it would do 400.
okay, yeah, because this card is also like, since it's such low pop, usually, and I think it might be first to market, so they it's kind of like that premium added on, right? Like if I did
Yeah,
put
but
it
it's
on,
not rookie, so I would expect that card to be low 400s. If I were you, if you want to get every dollar for it, ask 550 or best offer, see what happens.
gotcha. Okay, and that's tied to my third question.
Yep.
So last time I called, probably like 3 weeks ago, I had the Bryce Harper celebration, orange refractor. I also had the LE gold, and we talked about that more. I ended up selling that for like 950, but yeah, made
Nice.
like 600 off that card.
Nice.
But yeah, thank you. But this Bryce Harper gold, orange refractor. I mean, obviously LE was a rookie. This one, it's so weird because I there's one comp that's killing me right now. One sold PSA 10 for $212. The Raws, the sales were 225, 265, and 225. So the Raws had a higher, have higher comps than the PSA 10.
What card is
There's
it?
only one.
Tell me the card.
It's a Topps Chrome 2024 Topps Chrome. Bryce Harper, Celebracion, Orange Refractor.
Just not.
So it's with the C instead of a T.
Silver pack. Okay, I see it. Celebracion. Yeah, this isn't. So, yeah, you're just gonna have to cut your losses because the card just did. That happens. It's not like for the future. Making money grading veteran cards is much harder than rookies. Because the market, if you just think about it, the market's not there. When you buy a card and get it graded, and it's a 10, who are you most likely selling that card to? Well, probably some sort of collector of that player. And someone who collects Bryce Harper is going to want to buy his rookie cards from 2011, or is it 2010? No, it's 2011. He's going to want to buy 2011 cards, not 2024 cards. He'd rather buy a base something of Harper for $200 from 2011 than that. So your market's just much smaller for that card. Hence, PSA 10s don't do as well. So I would stick to buying rookies. Buying veterans, kind of hard.
Yeah, I mean, if I do buy veterans, I try to go with like the case hits, or I try to go with lower numbered. Obviously, not like crappy product, like absolute random numbered 25, right? Like, I try to go for like well-known Prism lower numbered, or even this is a case hit. That's why I kind of got this. But okay, and that's good. It's good to know. I think definitely my views on veterans changed a little bit. I don't know if it's going to change my strategy because I do like having just more of the proven guys, less volatility, but at the same time, I think definitely expecting my margins to be a
you're
little
just gonna be
lower.
lower because lower risk, lower reward.
Yeah. And then okay, my third question is a comment / question. So I know you do not care about the opinion of people that talk crap about you on social media.
Yep.
I saw your response to have you seen his recent videos or whatever of you?
I have not.
Do you,
Are they good? Are they funny?
no,
Some of them.
I mean,
some of them were funny.
Yeah, yeah, no. He posted one recently saying like it was you asking some random girls outside of like a bar or something,
Yep.
if they could guess the logo
Yeah.
with the Jaguars. Yeah, so he posted it like, this guy's a millionaire. Why is he doing this? And then like he made it into like kind of like a meme type video, and I was just, I mean, I know you don't care to respond because I heard your response from last time, but
Yep.
I was just wondering like, if somebody's constantly doing that, like, I mean, or if you wanted to even speak on that, right? Like, I guess just share your piece on that video.
Okay, so well, number one, I never said I was a millionaire. I keep my finances to myself. I've been financially fortunate in my life, but the reason I was doing that, and the reason if you go back on my Instagram, my YouTube, you'll see all sorts of pieces of content, like stuff like that, and then me doing like video screen recordings, and then trying all sorts of stuff to see what type of content does the best. And I've actually discovered that after testing tons and tons of content, that the best type of content for me personally that goes the most viral, people love it the most, is me actually doing like live negotiating. And like when I go to a card show, the content that does the best is that, like, me actually doing the thing. And I was discovering just, I was testing different types of content to see what would do the best, because our market. So now this is like in-depth business explanation here. But so our market is what's called like is an unaware market. Okay. So the people so you buy and sell sports cards already, right? So if you bought our program, you're not the usual person. So there's a famous business book called Blue Ocean Strategy that talks about the different levels of market. So for example, when Apple sells an iPhone, right? What does their advertising look like? They just say, hey, here's the iPhone 50, go and buy it. They don't really need to advertise. Everyone knows what the iPhone is. Apple has tons of people that are aware, and they have raving fans, right? So that's called a product aware marketing campaign, you call it. Then the next step down from that is called solution aware, right? So solution aware might be someone like yourself. You know sports cards, you know you can make money from it. Maybe you're just not amazing at it. You want to get better at it. You know there's a solution out there. You know what the solution is, you just don't know how to do it, right? Then the next problem from that, the next step down from that in the marketing world is something called problem aware people. So someone who's problem aware might be someone with a 9-to-5 job. They want to make extra income, but they just don't know how to do it, right? And they see my stuff and they're like, oh, I didn't know you could make money from sports cards. And then they buy our program, right? Then the next level down from that, which is a lot of our market, is the cold, unaware market. So these are people that, like sports, like money, they have careers and jobs, etc. But they may not even be looking to make money. But they see our ads, they see sports cards, they're like, well, wait a second, I like money, I like sports. Let's see what's going on here, because like a lot of guys like sports and money, right? So that type of content that I was testing, it did okay. It didn't do as well as I wanted to for the effort I was putting in. The reason I was going out there and just talking about whatever I was doing, asking girls questions about sports logos or something, is because that type of content actually attracts our customer avatar, because we just want people in our funnel or in our ecosystem that like sports. Because if you like sports, chances are you like making money too, because who doesn't? And we could sell you our program because we know we can help you.
Gotcha.
So that's why I was trying that type of content. And if that stuff started going viral, I'd still be doing it to this day, but it just wasn't worth the time I was putting in. It did okay. And it was, it's fun talking to a bunch of hot chicks, but it just wasn't worth the time. So that's the in-depth business explanation of why I think it's interesting. Just business in general. That's why I was doing that. But yeah.
That makes total sense, man. I mean, I just I wasn't sure if you saw it, and I know that you're not gonna like go out and make a statement because I heard your last response, and I wanted to kind of give you a chance to, I guess, explain it too, in case anybody else saw it, because I didn't think it was like anything weird. It's just this guy.
Dude, honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would ask myself the same question. I'd be like, why the fuck is this guy who talks about sports cards going out there and interviewing girls and asking them logos about teams?
Honestly, I just assume I kind of assumed that it was just like you did it for fun or whatever. I mean, that was my assumption. I wasn't judging you about that, but it was interesting to me to see this guy kind of targeting you about this stuff, and I was like, oh, I wanted to see what your response would be in a way, because I know you wouldn't, even if you saw it in your personal time, like you wouldn't issue a public.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't ever go on social media. Even though all my stuff is on social media, I go on Facebook once in a while to buy cards, but I don't even have my login to my Instagram. It's not on my phone, so I would never see it. But yeah, and that stuff creates, like, for me, I could tell you. So that guy that was posting content, it actually helped. It's funny how it works. Like, he pushed people to our page, and people like started to get wrapped into our content. And I know this because people were messaging me, like saying, hey, I found you from that guy. And then they started calling, and we got more callers from our podcast because of it. So honestly, I think any type of drama, any type of controversy online is good controversy. People love drama. People love, The Bachelor, Love Island, all that stuff, right? So I hope he keeps making content and posts about this. Hopefully he makes one. Hopefully he makes one about what I'm saying right now and makes fun of me again.
No.
But yeah, I'll never respond to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was skeptical about this, not super skeptical because you laid it out pretty clearly, but I watched pretty much all of your videos, starting from a few months ago, maybe like half a year ago, and definitely it does work. Your coaches did call me and try to set that up, but I think right now what I'm doing is working. I don't think I'm stuck or plateaued in a way. And so I didn't join your program, but
yeah, it's all good. Honestly, if it's working for you, I wouldn't. Just keep doing your thing. The reason the reason I post all the free content, number one, is to help people, but number two, you obviously execute and implement at a high level. Maybe not a lot of people would want to go through every single video, take notes, or whatever you did to get to where you are. There's a lot of people that just say, fuck it, I'll just pay have to have a coach tell me what to do and just lay it out for me, so I don't have to go through all the videos. You implement and execute at a high level, so the free content worked for you, and great. But there's a lot of people that will watch the free content and be like, I want a faster result, and then they end up joining our program. But yeah, if it's working for you, I would not join our program. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, all right, PC. Thanks for calling in.
I have a good one, brother.
All right, bye-bye. See if there's any questions through the comments. I've been ignoring the comments here. Josh says, when you take questions, can you look up my listing and tell me if I should? Yeah, just if you call in, just let me know. There's not that many questions. We have this from B8 Drivers. How picky should we be? Lots of cards have nice corners, but the size of the card show a little fuzz or fine paper hairs. Do those qualify for a 9? Usually those little fuzzy hairs aren't a big issue. Just depends on the card. I would just call and send me a picture, and I can just tell you, what I think. I would just need to see the card in the lot. Appreciate the content. Thank you very much. Already addressed the stuff about sales. I'm just ripping through the comments here. Great stuff. Great stuff, Eric. What's your thoughts on buying, investing, flipping Bowman first? Prism, like top NIL players like Manning, Raiola, Underwood, can be very liquid in my opinion. Yes, very liquid. I can't see those guys appreciating much in value unless they start playing well during the season, which probably all of them will. But those are good cards to buy and grade. Like, yeah, they're really good cards to buy and grade. They're super liquid. Like Caitlin Clark, I feel like, took the Bowman University stuff and really started to make it popular. And then also the NIL stuff. Now these players are getting paid. So because of it, they are just selling better in college. So, yeah. But I think that's a wrap. Cool. Well, I guess in my life, I bought this collection. This is just one card from it. There's like 10 or 20,000 cards. So if you go back to what I was telling PC before, I was explaining to him that the best type of content that I make, this podcast is fun, and I do it to like address like intricate questions. But the best content I make is when I'm actually doing the thing. So I've been on a mission to be like, okay, I don't have time to go to card shows, but how can I like bring the card shows to me? How can I bring the card buying to me so I can film it? And what I'm going to start doing, even though I don't really teach this in my program, it's close enough, is buying collections from people. So I videotaped this whole thing. It was actually pretty interesting. I walked into this guy's house. He had a bunch of cards from like a lot of early 2000s stuff. There's tons of it. And I'm going to start doing that, buying these collections, hopefully making money on them, giving you guys an update, using all that stuff for content and YouTube videos and reels, because that stuff goes really viral for us. But I'm going to start doing a lot of that. So I'll be using this podcast to answer questions, keep doing my thing here, but also buying collections because, me actually doing the thing live is, there's just nothing better and more interesting than that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one.